For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a new awning from Telta. So with me here today I've got the Telta Estate Air 390. So the Telta Estate has been designed really in almost like a bigger brother to its Life collection. So this is kind of Telta's residential porch awning. They do the model that fits above it, which is a full awning, which is called the Apex, but the Estate is based on the Life. So as the name kind of suggests, we're 390 wide and it's 275 deep. So it's a little bit deeper than your standard kind of traditional, porch awning itself. Naturally, the air part of it makes it seem mostly inflatable, so it's very quick and easy to pitch. You can see from we've done a separate pitching and packing video, took myself no longer than I think about 15 minutes to pitch it, which means arguably you can use it for sort of weekend touring trips as well as those longer periods of time. And due to kind of the more rugged nature of the fabric, it sits really well and it's got some little points to it which we will touch on itself. Now, it's got a single inflation point located here, and then it's got deflation points either side, as well as the inflation point, as well as also deflation. So you've got essentially one inflation point, 3 deflation points, great to get the air in and out. The thing that makes this a little bit different in comparison to, like I said, the Life is not only the fabric, but also the fact that we've got external blinds now, and these are really looking quite smart. So the external blinds actually completely enclose it when you want to. So if you leave it on a permanent pitch, for example, and you're off-site, you want that element of privacy, the blinds actually zip down really nice and neatly. And one thing I do like actually is, the one thing you do find is when you have external blinds, you have this big bulge at the top here as well. The joys of this is actually the blind itself completely zips off. So you get the flexibility of having a completely enclosed with the benefit, or zip it off so you get the streamlined, minimalistic look of something without it. So what I've done is kind of mocked up here. So for example, on the side, zipped it all the way down. I've rolled up on the point here as well, and I've took it off completely on the side panel. Telta have spent a lot of time and effort actually trying to just refine it, and actually what I can do here, I'll just show you, is show you how that top section can just zip off, and you've got a separate little sausage. So again, just aesthetically straight out how much neater it really quite looks. And again, you can store that separately or just put it back on. I'd highly recommend when you're sort of packing it down, just kind of leave it back in place. But one thing is quite surprising how kind of effortless it is just to reattach it. No drama. They've worked, like I said, a lot of time to just make it smooth action, really nice sit, kind of smartly, and you can always still sort of take it up as well. So if you wanted it, say, kind of halfway, for example, you can always roll it up, tuck it and wedge it. I quite like the idea of you kind of can just sort of fold it in place, zip it down, just to kind of keep it neat and tidy. There's no stays in there. What I'm really sort of staying on is the pressure of holding it like so. So again, you've got the options of anything, but for the purpose of the video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it off, take the panel off, put that somewhere separate, and then you've got the beautiful, real nice big windows that you kind of come with the actual Estate. On the side, what we're running with is the side panels have this big window again, so blinds included. This door, so the door on its side actually has a full mesh part to it as well, so you can have airflow that goes directly into it. And the door is, say, 70% window, 30% door. Now what you can do is interchange panels either side. What that does, it repositions the side door. Rather than being at the back of the caravan or the motorhome, it can then go to the front. Now, I've mentioned motorhome here. This will actually fit a porch, a caravan as well as a motorhome. So we've got 2 different size beadings that we can feed in. So we've got a 5mm and a 7mm beading. 7mm will go into your caravan rail, the 5mm will go into a wind out awning of any sorts. Now, the one thing that's quite clever about this is actually it's got like an expansion system, kind of like a suitcase. So in terms of the actual height or vehicle it will attach, it will fit vehicles between 235 and 285 in the connection point. Now, they've done this really by having, like I said, a collapsible suitcase. So there's a little zip that's located down the side here. And basically with the zip closed, it will go, its size ranges 235 to 250. That can expand and it reveals another zip. By opening that zip up, it goes from 250 to 265. And then if you open that one again, it's 265 to 285. So, sorry, 265 to 80. So again, you've got a real good space, 15 centimeters each time. So again, it works really quite smartly, and it's a really clever way of doing it. It's very minimalistic, sits well, and as you can see, just hides everything in a little baffle at the top. We've got a little ventilation point located at the top here as well to help airflow, to obviously help minimize air. And now we'll move on to the fabric itself. So one of the crucial things of the fabric itself is the fact we've got kind of a mixture of materials. So this is kind of Telta Soltex fabric. So the Soltex fabric is a mixture of having a polypropylene roof with an acrylic sides. So the polypropylene roof is something that's been taken out of kind of almost the medical trade, so it's very easy clean. What you sometimes find is almost like a rough and smooth side to it. So the smooth side actually sits on top, means the water beads off really quite nicely. It's really hard wearing, so it's designed that you can, again, as it's designed to be, left on sort of long pitches or for longer periods of time. It runs with it's a 310 gram per square meter weight, so a good reasonable weight. And that's mixed with the breathability of the acrylic. So the acrylic is on the sides, the little brow canopy, and the front. So it works well, obviously, with the PVC windows. Now, the acrylic gives that breathability, but also that long lastingness to it. It's dyed in a way we call soap dyed or solution dyed, you might hear it called. It's where you dye the yarn before it's woven to the thread. The reason we kind of is important is because we use the analogy difference between, say, a carrot and a radish. When you cut them in half, your carrot has colour way through, your radish has colour on the outside and the white on the inside. So with the carrots we have here, it means after a longer period of time it doesn't fade as quickly, so it looks sharper for longer. It's also got a treatment onto the acrylic as well, so it's basically, it stops it from marking as easily. So that's one thing you find with acrylic. So when you're folding it or moving it or after time, you're not going to see little scag marks like that. It's little touches like that that really make it quite smart. We've got a PVC mud skirt along the bottom, as well as the sides. And there's little points I want to touch on, things you've got. Really nice, easy to use zips, which work really well. There's a little bit of a brow canopy at the front here, and what you can do with the front panels is the front panel itself can sort of remove the whole thing. You can remove half it. So there's a zip located directly down to split the panel directly off. With the front door, you have the flexibility of little vents at the top here to help airflow. But what you can do as well is you can actually fold the door. So one thing you may have seen on the previous Life models is almost like a little bit of a door, and they've took that out to give you a bigger window panel to get better light, because again, if you have the side panels rotated round, your door then in theory would become here. So you want the view at the front with the windows. You can come in here as your entrance and exit, but for those people who want to utilize that door itself, what you can actually do is quite clever, is it will zip back to the halfway point. You leave the pegging point down at the bottom. This point here then has a little clasp on it, a little sort of button clip. So that point will then fold in half and button back in place at the top, but also the bottom as well. So that way then you have the kind of halfway door, so you can still kind of come in and out and utilize that. So again, it's, even with the blinds mixture in there, it just gives that a little bit more simplistic look. The front panels as well, you can, which we'll come to later, veranda them down if you need be, but for the time being, just for the look of it, let's just zip that bad boy up. As you can see, I've actually put the residential annex on it as well. So we've got that kind of located at the back. I'll put it in there, sorry Arch. So again, it's an optional extra you can, so the side panel can remove and you could actually put the residential annex. We've done a separate video on that in detail, but we'll cover that a little bit later on in the video itself. But in fact, let's move inside and talk through a load more features that the estate has to offer. In fact, we can see the mesh window here. So what we can do is we'll drop down the panels. Just make that life a little easier. We can see a bit better as we step in here. So now we're inside the awning itself. you can see obviously that beautiful big crystal window, so plenty of light coming directly in. What we've also got, when we don't want to use the external blinds that we've zipped off of here, we've actually got a privacy curtain. So the curtain itself is a nice kind of sort of cotton soft touch fabric, gives it a little privacy. It can clip even to the bottom down here as well, so again, just gives you an element of privacy. At home you kind of feel by having the curtains as well. And then we've got a little retaining strap located there we need it. As standard, it comes in 2 bags. You get basically a bag for the main body and a separate bag for the panels, so the sides and the front, just again reduce the overall weight of it rather than having one big hefty bag. For the pitching video, like I said, it took me about 15 minutes to do, 15, 16 minutes to do, and I feed it in one go. You can do that if you wanted to, but by reducing, obviously, having the bag separate, it means you've just got the roof fabric you're pulling through with the actual, main kind of tubes itself. Like I said, you've got a single inflation point which is located down the bottom here. It comes up and distributes itself through these little taps. So the system can have the flexibility of being isolated off, so each beam separate to one another, but it can punt from one single point. There aren't any roof lines or anything like that because it doesn't need to naturally with the material. But I think the very classical kind of nylon kind of casings look quite smart, and it's got a TPU tube, so a really nice reliable tube. You've got a 2-year warranty on the workmanship, a 3-year warranty on the tubes as well with Telta. So again, and they use a real nice ball bearing valve to isolate it off, and with a little notch, it's much easier to sort of open and close it. Sometimes it can be a little bit stiff when you start with, but as they sort of go through the time, works a bit nicer. We've got little Velcro tabs located here again for a little lighting you can add to the awning itself. There's little points again you can probably attach something onto if you really wanted to, but it's a nice oversized beam and a strong natural structure. 9 psi is the recommendation with that as well, so again it helps to give it a sort of bit more bounce and braces. As you can see behind me, I've got the annex situators in. Like I said, this can fit on either side of the panels. Comes in complete with inner bedroom and a curtain if you want to use it more of just storage. Little poles in the roof section. Runs about 210 by 215 in terms of floor span, height of 187 I think it is. I can't stand up in it, okay, not too bad, but you've got things like little pockets in here, cable entry points for sort of electrics, and also a complete enclosure for the front as well, so really worked nicely done. Other things to bear in mind is how you fit it against the vehicle. So regardless if you're going for a motorhome or a caravan, the methods could pretty much be the same. So there's some rear upright poles you can buy additionally. They'll help press this foam pad directly against the caravans to minimise draft coming down the side. There's a little pocket located at the top here as well. That is also, this part kind of velcros on and off. It's designed that when you're on a motorhome, for example, and maybe the cassette's not directly flush in line with the bodywork, so it steps out a little bit, naturally you'll have a bit of a gap if you were to connect into the end of the actual the bottom of the wind out awning. So this acts as like a little bit of a door, so the foam panel can sort of open like that, take the void up, and that's where the pole really does help. There is also pre-punched holes in here, so you can use some suckers or kind of limpets to seal it against it. For me, I would always opt for the poles over limpets. Use them in conjunction with another to get the ultimate seal, but if you were going for one, I would definitely recommend that. There's an accessory track on the top here as well, so you can have things like organisers to come down to minimise the sort of amount of space, clutter you have in the awning itself. But because you've got a sort of 275 depth, one thing you do find is actually it's really quite spacious. The vertical front is very big as well, so I can being 6'2", can stand up pretty much next to the panel really quite easily. And you've also got a little lug located at the front here as well. So on the beams itself here, you can buy a veranda pole, so you can actually create a little veranda with the front section. Again, mesh vents at the top, as I previously mentioned. What we'll do is just kind of open that up. So that panel can kind of come down. We can unzip that as well, and then create a little veranda. Ideally, you want to put a pole in there just to kind of give it a bit more points to each section, so you can have 2 veranda poles, but the same veranda pole can also be your front to rear pole. So it can be a hanging rail that clips onto a little point located there and goes up to the point down here as well, so you can hang things directly on top of it as well. So again, that's a real nice little option or extra to look at. There's a range of obviously flooring and carpets as well for the estate. But for me, let's get kind of the camera a bit more close and personal to some of these features I've been talking about. So, first thing we do is talk about, like I said, in terms of the fitment. So we've got this kind of apex ventilation point here to allow it to, and we've got the zip, which is located at the top, so you can probably just about see it depending on the light. So it sort of expands and, like I said, it opens like a suitcase to increase. So it does mean that height then goes directly up. From the inside, we're looking at here, once the camera adjusts the light of it. Little pocket located there for kind of a your pole to go into there to press this foam pad nice and tightly against it. Little Velcro tabs for the pole to go in there as well. And we've got the pre-punched kind of limpet holes located there just to kind of help sucker it to it. And there is a little point elastic clip for the front to rear pole, and there's little Velcro ties here running down, so you can run the little cable, which then is going to power the lights that go onto the front kind of beam. That's the little clasp you got there, so when you actually want to use that door like I did on the outside and use it as a hinge point, you naturally use that as well. And then you've got these little toggle points located there, so that folds directly in half to the point located there. So it kind of folds directly in half. And then we've got a little Velcro to obviously allow airflow in or out, depending on what you want to do with it. Isolation taps located there as well, so again you can have it sort of open or closed. There's a little point that says open and close on there, and a little notch so you can tell which way. Obviously if it's in line, then naturally the air is flowing. If it's crossways, it's kind of obviously absorbed. Little points located here just kind of keep that panel in place when you're obviously using one or the other. And we've got the hanging points there for your veranda poles, that works really well. Mud walls down there which are PVC, really nice and strong. And there is even little log points you can clip the carpet in if you really wanted to. You have to buy a little attachment to do so, but structural string, not really nice strong beams itself as well. And then we've got little lugs located on top. As we kind of come down the actual top of the tent, the awning, you can see it presses against the foam pad. You might have to buy some packing pads if you aren't necessarily flush with like a motorhome. There's a little beading located there as well, so that's what accessory tracks will go into. Now there is also a 2 beadings as well, so like I said, a 5mm or 7mm beading, depending on if you're in a like I said, a motorhome or caravan. But again, so the inner tent works really quite smartly. We've got a little veranda once you sort of the camera adjusts the lights. But again, you can see the face of that fabric. You see kind of the contours of the fabric, how it looks. It's like there's a real nice kind of weave to it again, and you can see a little bit of light actually through the acrylics, and that sort of shows you how kind of the breathability of it as well. And that little kind of porch on the front, so it means when you've got the veranda in place, you've still got a little bit of coverage directly on the front section. If we go outside, you can see kind of how well it sits. Again, I've just took the panel down. There are some mesh panels you can buy for it as well, just to kind of, if you wanted to have just automatic airflow rather than just relying on the front door, the additional side doors, as you can see. Sits really well, and then we've got that sort of obviously extra large tall annex, which is an optional extra in the same material. It has a little ventilation point on the side, but we've done said a bit more of a deep dive on that. I think on the whole, again, you've got this real nice peaked roof section. Just helps the water to naturally basically fall off down the sides, and it comes off the front section as well. But if I can get a bit closer to look at this fabric, you can probably see it there, like just how it's, the weave of it is really quite nice. Suits really well, and then you've got this really kind of hard wearing top section. But again, I think it's just done in a really lovely way. I think it just looks smart on the whole, sits really well. It's definitely for the person who's looking for that, you know, properly seasonal awning or something that's going to be, you know, a bit more longer lasting. It's worth mentioning that their Telta Life, for example, which is their Teltex polycotton fabric, like I say, it's not designed to be a seasonal use. I think if you're using it, like anything, the more, if you use it for an extended period of time, naturally what you find is the lifespan of the product is going to be less and less. So rather than getting 7 or 8 years out of it, you get 3 or 4, just because you're using it, you know, 12, 15 weeks or whatever, however long it may be. Yeah, so I think on the whole, it works really well. Definitely in comparison to kind of the full awning, so you can obviously look at the Apex, which uses the same fabric, so it depends if you want the full awning or something more porchy. Joys this obviously because it fits motorhomes as well as caravans. I think it's got a much wider range it will fit. Like I said, that 235 to 280 works really quite smartly, with the options of the annexes as well, and just, I don't know, it just oozes class. And generally, I've said having that acrylic polypropylene roof, it's just that next step level up, I think, really, in kind of in comparison to Telta's collection, and sort of just it's probably hitting a point they've not really done fast. And we do get asked for seasonal full awnings, hence why Dometic did kind of the residential in their kind of all-season fabric. and then they've done their new stay material as well. So I think I don't know, it just sits well, looks well. There's a lot going on here as well. I think it's simplistic. The things I think for me in particular I do really like is the material, the look and feel of it. We've got the front curtains, also which blinds which zip off, which no other brand on the market do, and that's, I think, again, just it's an extra point of giving you the best of both worlds with the privacy, and also then when you're using it, the ultimate amount of light. Obviously having a real nice daft dog tall Alex on the front, which obviously can go on either side with the flexibility of extra mesh panels, and again you can just build upon that and create your home away from home. But for more information on, of course, the Telta estate, check the link below this video. It'll take you through to our information webpage, where we've got things like the latest pricing, offering, bundle deals. We've got all of the optional extras in there as well, is sizing, individual features listed there, minimum weights and pack sizes, so you can kind of get a real feel for it. It's certainly something we'll have up on our indoor display showroom in some form, be it a life and then maybe the apex, so you can kind of cross-reference the material and the sizing as well. But on the whole, yeah, I think quick, easy to pitch, six box, and can be used in, like I said, for touring use as well as seasonal use if you want something a bit more rugged and a bit more hard wearing. But yeah, let us know what you think. It's always good to have feedback from you guys, be it good, bad or ugly. Hopefully it's been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next Attwoolls Outdoors video review.